Picture this: the roaring chaos of a trading floor in New York. Phones ringing, screens flickering, billions of dollars moving at the speed of light. For over a century, this was the heartbeat of global finance, and the West was its master conductor. The dollar was the king, Western banks the gatekeepers, and international markets played by Western rules. But today, that certainty is slipping. The question echoing through boardrooms and ministries worldwide is simple: why is the West losing control of the global economy? To answer, we have to rewind back to 1944, in the small town of Bretton Woods, where world leaders gathered to rebuild a shattered post-war economy. They created an architecture of power: the IMF, the World Bank, and the dollar as the anchor of global trade. For decades, this system worked beautifully for the West. It allowed them to print, borrow, and invest with unmatched freedom. Western corporations expanded overseas, their currencies trusted, their influence unquestioned. The Washington Consensus became gospel. But history moves fast. Emerging nations learned, adapted, and rose. While the West exported capital and culture, others quietly built factories, reserves, and independence. The pillars that once held the Western-led system, firm control of capital, security dominance, and technological supremacy, are now being tested from all sides. And yet, this isn't about collapse, it's about transformation. The age of one-sided control is ending. The next chapters of this story reveal how trade, technology, and ambition are redrawing the global map, and why the West's financial crown now sits a little less steady. Globalization was once the West's greatest masterpiece, a symphony of efficiency, where cheap labor in Asia fed insatiable Western consumption, and Wall Street financed it all with the tap of a keyboard. It was elegant, profitable, and for a while, unstoppable. But beneath that harmony, a slow tension was building, a shift so gradual that few noticed until the chords began to fall out of tune. When the pandemic hit, the world caught a glimpse of its own fragility. Empty shelves, halted factories, and tangled supply chains exposed a truth long ignored. The Western economic engine depended on a world it no longer fully controlled. Every shipping container stuck at sea whispered the same question: who really runs the system now? As new powers rose, they began rewriting the script. China moved up the value chain, no longer satisfied with being the world's workshop. India, Indonesia, Brazil, nations once labeled emerging, started shaping the very flow of global trade. Their populations, their demand, and their innovation began to rival the old centers of power. Meanwhile, Western nations, facing rising costs and political pressure, started pulling production back home, reshoring, protecting, insulating. But every move to regain control only fragmented the web they'd spent decades weaving. The result? Trade is no longer universal, it's regional, strategic, and deeply political. The West's dominance was built on global openness. Now, walls are rising where bridges once stood. And in this new, multipolar world, influence is no longer measured by how much you control, but by how much others still need you. For decades, the West's financial system looked untouchable. The dollar wasn't just a currency, it was the law. Nations borrowed in it, traded through it, and saved it like gold. Western central banks, with their vast liquidity and political credibility, acted as the world's emergency responders. When crisis hit, they printed, bailed out, and stabilized. But every rescue came with a hidden cost: dependence, debt, and the slow erosion of trust. Today, those cracks are impossible to ignore. The United States and Europe carry record levels of public debt, while inflation has returned like an old ghost the system thought it had buried. The weaponization of finance, sanctions, dollar exclusion, and asset freezes, once seen as powerful deterrents, now push countries to find a way out. Russia built its own clearing systems. China promotes the digital yuan. Even longtime allies are diversifying reserves, just in case. And politics, always the wild card, has become the West's biggest vulnerability. Divided electorates, populist movements, and short-term policymaking make it harder to lead with consistency. Every new administration brings a new strategy, a new tone, a new set of priorities. Allies watch, uncertain. Rivals watch, emboldened. The truth is, control isn't lost in a single moment, it fades, piece by piece. Through debt that limits freedom, through politics that weakens unity, through rivals who quietly prepare alternatives. The West still holds the keys to the old system, but the locks are changing faster than anyone expected. For years, the West assumed it would always write the rules of global finance. But quietly, outside that circle of influence, new players were studying the game, and now they're building their own table. The BRICS nations Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa, once a loose acronym, are now a strategic alliance with a message: the era of Western monopoly is over. Their recent expansions, their summits, and their growing influence show one thing clearly: they don't just want a seat at the table, they want to redesign it. China's Belt and Road Initiative is no longer just about ports and railways, it's about financial gravity. Every bridge, every power plant, every digital network it builds strengthens an alternative web of influence. Across Asia, Africa, and Latin America, local projects are being funded not by the IMF or World Bank, but by Chinese, Indian, or Middle Eastern capital. Then comes technology, the great equalizer. Digital payments, fintech, and even central bank digital currencies are changing the rules of money movement. Countries are experimenting with systems that bypass Western clearing entirely. For the first time in decades, nations can trade, borrow, and invest without touching the dollar. This isn't a sudden revolution, it's a silent migration. Power is no longer concentrated in London, New York, or Frankfurt. It's diffusing toward Shanghai, Mumbai, Riyadh, and beyond. The global economy isn't one empire anymore. It's a constellation of many, each shining with its own ambition. So, what happens when the West no longer holds every lever of global power? It doesn't mean collapse. It means competition: real, open, and global. The rules are changing, and everyone is playing to win. The West still owns incredible advantages: deep financial markets, strong legal systems, unmatched universities, and an innovation engine that still shapes the world. But influence today is earned through inclusion, not dominance. The nations rising now aren't asking for permission, they're asking for partnership. And if the West wants to remain relevant, it must adapt. That means investing in supply chains that are resilient, not just cheap. It means updating alliances so that power is shared, not hoarded. It means rebuilding trust inside and outside its borders. Because in the 21st century, credibility is a currency, and the nations that spend it wisely will lead the next chapter of globalization. For viewers, this story isn't just about geopolitics, it's about the money in your pocket, the products you buy, the energy that powers your life. The balance of power is shifting, and understanding that shift is your biggest advantage. If you found this journey insightful, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share this video so more people can understand how history, money, and power are being rewritten before our eyes. Because the truth is simple: the global economy is no longer controlled, it's contested. And those who understand the game will shape its future.